So as is appropriate for Pocket Gamer Connects here in London, this is unlike a traditional panel, so this is a bit of a gamified panel, so it's going to be a bit of fun, and we're going to have a little bit of audience interaction. So I will keep going in with that. Do I need a clicker, or should? Right. Wonderful. Thank you. So yeah, this is actually very much based on, so Liftoff as a company, we are very data-driven. So we do app acquisition campaigns, app install campaigns, and then also re-engagement, retargeting. And pretty much everything that we do is based on data. We release a lot of reports. If you care to go to our website, you'll see there's a resources section with tons of reports, which is all database. So this game is actually based on real data, real ads, creative, shown to real potential gamers and gamers. And we're just going to be running through this and have a little bit of interaction with the crowd to understand how important creative is in terms of driving installs and then downstream engagement with the app, the game. So just as in the form of a quick intro, Liftoff is actually based out in Palo Alto, and we have offices here in London and then also in Singapore and Tokyo. So we actually started off traditionally as non-gaming, and over the last probably 18 months, a lot of gamers have started working with us, some of which are mentioned there, including Mytona, who's up on stage with us. So grateful to have a customer up on stage as well, which is great. So we very much focus on not just driving install, but what actually happens after the install. We track, do you go on to complete the game tutorial? Do you reach level 25, which may be indicative of somebody who's going to complete an in-app purchase? Has somebody purchased but then hasn't engaged in the game or played the game for a while to try and build segments for re-engagement, etc. So everything that we do is very much looking at data. And of course, one of the really important components when you're putting ads out there in front of people is to understand, what you actually put, the visual you put in front of them is going to be very critical in terms of getting them to convert for an install or actually going on to engage with your game. So I'm going to get going shortly, but before I do that, I'd love to obviously just allow the panelists to quickly introduce themselves. So maybe we'll start with yourself.
Yes, certainly. So I'm Stephen Hay from Hey Stephen Hay. This is an egotistically named company. The company's just me. I'm a freelancer and I help indie developers market their games across all platforms, mobile and HD.
Hi everyone, I'm Elena from Mytona. It's a free-to-play mobile game developer and publisher. I'm a marketing manager at Mytona, and we are running pretty successful campaigns with Liftoff.
Thanks for the plug.
My name is microphone not working. Okay. My name is Jan. I'm a head of marketing for Vivid Games, one of the biggest Polish mobile publishers and developers.
Excellent. Okay, so here, as you see, we've got real games experts, right? So this game should be a lot of fun because you would suspect that they're going to get every single question right. So
unless we're not right.
So let's find out. So these, as I said, these are real sort of ads that we've been running. This particular one, actually, I'll just double check. This was actually run across a number of geos. So this was actually run in Canada, Germany, France, USA, and Austria on iOS. And you can see it's version A is the interactive ad versus an animated ad, okay? So let's get our gaming experts. Which one would you think actually won in terms of outperforming? And this is, of course, all based on real A/B testing with statistical relevance. So
I'm gonna go for the 20,000, the number, the stat, because I think this consumer is I think they're after a lot of puzzles. They're kind of into very open about playing games for mind. to kind of betterment themselves, basically. So I think that would appeal to them rather than a simple kind of piece of interactive.
Okay.
So that's what I'm going to go for.
There's some game expertise there. What about Elena?
I think I'm one of the target audience for this game because I'm a female. And for me, version A looks much better because it's show me real gameplay, so I already know, okay, this is puzzle. I need to drag and drop the pieces of puzzle and make some nice pictures. So I think like as a gamer and user, I think version A is like more interactive and show me more how game can be look like inside the game.
Great.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think that the version A would create much more engagement, not only because of the fact of the interaction in it, but as well it shows in a better way what the game is about. But I think when we see those, we need as well to consider the costs. Usually those kinds of ads costs more. Mm-hmm. So it is. I think that this could create much more engagement, but at the end of the day, it would need to calculate the ROI on it as well.
Okay, great. So we have 2 going for A and 1 going for B. Just a show of hands from the audience. Who would go for A, the interactive ad? Oh, overwhelming. Overwhelming.
We're probably wrong.
Anybody in the audience brave enough to go for B now? Okay, a few. Okay, so let's see. The winning ad was... There we go. So Elena and Jan, you got that one. So again, yeah, this is interaction, right? So you would think that if this is sort of mimicking the gameplay of the app. This is obviously an app from Zymad, Magic Jigsaw Puzzles. So yeah, fairly interactive, as you both said. And in terms of cost, which was your question actually, I don't know what other app marketing platforms do, but what we do at Liftoff is that we have our own creative team, and that is part of our full service offering. So the cost of that versus that is 0. As far as we're concerned, because what we need to do is we need to make sure that we can drive installs for our customers, and then of course they pay us on a CPI or a CPA basis, etc. So there is no additional cost, at least unless you're obviously working with a separate agency to do your creative. That will be a different scenario. So, and then just here, like ads. So this is kind of like maybe like a guide for the panelists, and a guide for the audience as well. So really, if you're able to mimic, the app play, the gameplay, and sort of demonstrate the core benefit of the game, those tend to win out. Those kind of ads tend to win. So hopefully this will be a guidance to make sure we get everything right from now on. Right, here we've got Wooga's Pearl's Peril, another hidden objects game. So in this particular one here, you've got obviously again, there is a interstitial, and there's also a, there's an interstitial, and then there's also the video and interactive. So there's a video and interactive here for an interstitial ad unit. This was actually run on iOS in the US only, and it's actually running as we speak at the moment. So we've already reached statistical significance to judge which one is performing best. So maybe start with you this time, Jan?
Yeah, I would say the version A would win in the similar manner as the previous one. I think that it has a movement in it, much more. Well, it's not interactive per se, as far as I understand. It's just video, right?
It's just video.
Okay.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, it's there is a movement inside the frame. It's much more reach in a way, so it would engage better. At least that's what I would guess. And at the same time, I like the call to action at the beginning of it. It is much more, I don't know, direct and explanatory rather than help me find 9 wines. I like this one. Help Pearl find something, whatever. It's like it describes better what the game is about, at least for me.
Okay, 1 for A. Elena?
Just question. This is interactive, right? So
It's not interactive. So these are both. It's just as it is. So there's no interaction in that one. It's just video versus interstitial.
As for me, I think version A is much better, but maybe if version B was interactive, so it means when I click on it, I actually can find these 9 bottles.
Yeah.
So probably version B will win.
B. Okay. So that's again. So 1 for each.
I'm not. I'm going to go with the popular vote on A. I think it works better, and I agree. I think I like the idea of interactivity on B, but if it isn't, the video will really work.
It is actually. So my mistake. It is interactive. You've got to find the 9 bottles.
It is interactive.
Yeah, it is interactive.
The version B is interactive.
Yeah, it is interactive. Apologies.
Okay, then it's tricky. It is, because
I mean, who does not want to find 9 bottles
that's
of
the
red
thing.
wine?
If it's playable, then it definitely has much better KPIs. It just is. So it's tricky. The version A, it's much more appealing when you look at it like that. But if you can,
Face prints every time for me. There's a human face on the version A.
that's the thing as well. I wanted to talk about. There is a face. There is a big face of it, so it's very appealing. Well, that's tricky. I don't know. I would still go for version. I mean, I would change to version B then.
Okay.
If it's
So we've got
if it's interactive, then I would go for version
2
B.
Bs and. Are you going to buck the trend?
I would go for yeah. Okay, I'm going to go for A because there's a face in it. There's 2 faces. There's a snow face and a human.
That's true.
Okay. And then a quick one for the audience again. Show of hands for A. Show of hands for interactive B. Slight win for the audience for interactive B. And the answer is interactive wins again. Interactive wins again. So even the human face does not sway it, even for this one. So again, lesson learned here as well. So here's one just actually for the audience. So as I said at the beginning, we release a lot of sort of reports. We released a mobile how to market mobile games report last year, and wanted to understand like which, according to the report that we released about 4 months ago, I believe, which subcategory enjoys the lowest cost to install and purchase rates. So is it A, casino, B, casual, C, strategy, or D, action? Let's go for a show of hands. That's probably easiest in the audience. What about A? Who would go for A? Just 3 or 4 people. Who would go for B, for casual? A lot more. Anybody for strategy? No. 1. Strategy, lowest cost.
Well, the others are so competitive.
Right, okay. And then action adventure. It's about 50-50, I think, between casual and action adventure based on the audience. So on this one, actually, it is casual. So yeah, it is hugely competitive, but it's still cheaper. So on average, based on all of the data or from the game report, it's approximately $2 to acquire a casual gamer, CPI. Across the board, right? So this is data across the world, across all sort of casual gaming apps that we've run. And then just to give you an idea, the most expensive is actually Adventure. Adventure is double the price at $4 CPI. So significantly more expensive. And the reason why is obviously LTV with casual games is obviously lower. We know that. LTV for strategy and action adventure is much, much higher. So the value to acquire those users as a result is a lot more competitive. So although it's not mass market, for those users that do play strategy and adventure, they're high value users. So to get them is a lot more expensive. So back to the game. Are we ready for another round? Okay.
It's getting more difficult as I see.
Hopefully, this is the third one. So hopefully, getting a hang of this. So this is localized versus non-localized.
But it's both are being directed for Sweden.
Both are just in the Swedish market.
Okay.
One is doing it in English in Sweden, and one is doing it in Swedish in Sweden. Which one would win?
B, I guess.
Swedish? Although Swedes speak better English than Brits.
They do, but nevertheless, it's always better to localize, right?
Okay, so Swedish for localized.
Swedish.
Yeah, I think version B will win, but maybe the uplift is not that big. Because
True.
Nordic and I think most European countries speak English really well, and they understand English ads. So I think in this case, version B is still winner, but maybe just a little.
Right. Not only does she give an answer, she qualifies and gives some data behind it. Nice. Okay.
I'm going to have to let go me. This is Lego me. He's got a microphone, and he's telling me. So I used to work at Chilingo, and we used to do a lot of localization. And our experience was very similar in a lot of territories. It would still be positive, but the margin wasn't as big as you would expect.
Right.
But I do still think the localized one would work better.
Okay, so pretty much everybody's going for Swedish winning in Sweden. Who goes for Swedish winning in Sweden? Surprising, it's only about half of you. Okay, and yes, a 56% uplift. So significant. So this is actually important because, yeah, I mean, it's a little bit surprising as well because obviously in Sweden they speak very good English. But generally, localized always works better, but very much to your point. So of course, if you're going in a country where English is not spoken, don't use English. So, so there's going to be huge differences in certain geos. You know, there's no point showing, I don't know, English in China, for example, right, or Japan for that matter. That's just not going to work. So generally, even in Sweden, which is obviously a country where they speak English perfectly for the most part, there is still an uplift even in that country. And then just in terms of another, from one of our other reports. So there's a lot of data, and you've probably seen some of this, is that people install apps and then they quickly uninstall them, or they just don't engage with those apps. So only 1 in 4 users who install a game or an app are using it 1 day later. So just 1 day later, you've spent all that time developing your game, you've got it in front of App Store and Google Play Store, you've done your marketing and all your campaigns, etc. Somebody downloads it today. Wow, amazing, fantastic. 25% are gone tomorrow. And then actually, the sad reality is 1 month later, 30 days later, 90% are gone. So, yeah. So those are the sad statistics. I mean, obviously, gaming is incredibly competitive. So, so re-engagement is clearly like a big and important part. I think more and more games developers are doing re-engagement. So once you've built a decent sized user base and you can monetize fairly well, then I think re-engagement becomes more and more of an important piece. Any show of, like here on the panelists, I mean, do you guys invest in re-engagement, whether it's paid re-engagement or obviously, whether it's email or, the standard push notifications and so on and so forth?
Well, this is something we start to explore. We have experienced like 2 or 3 campaigns like that, which are fairly successful, I say. I think there is a big matter as well of the KPIs in your game and how it performs and how easy it is to retarget the players to that as well. So it has an impact on that. But generally, that's a big trend, I would say, now. So it's definitely something that should be of interest to a lot of game developers.
Right. And from you, Elena?
For us, I think from the very beginning, just using simple push notifications and adapt like different push notifications to users, retain your users much better than maybe if you cannot do paid acquisition.
Right.
we same as Vivid Games start to exploring the retargeting. For now, I think our games like mature at the current level, so it's actually necessary kind of acquisition as well. Just retarget your churn users.
And what about when you're consulting out there with games developers?
Yeah, so I've not had any re-engagement campaigns in the past year. I've just been consulting for a year. Before that, I was at EA Chilingo, where we had a tank battle game called Iron Force. And with Iron Force, we did see a lot of re-engagement when we kind of did coordinated campaigns around in-game events. So we do kind of big, kind of global World War events, and we use re-engagement for that very kind of strategically, and that seemed to work. So in-game, and then I know with EA, for example, they would do active re-engagement around their licenses. So, you know, if there's a new Star Wars movie and you've got Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, well, actually, you may be tempted to go back to that.
So they just like use that as the hook to get bring people back.
So it's to link to, you know, that's great for EA who have those big licenses, but it was used then.
Yeah, and then just a show of hands, like, you know, in the audience who are games developers, has anybody invested or thinking of investing in re-engaging users rather than pure user acquisition? So not that many. Okay, interesting. Cool. All right, here we go. Here's a good one: leprechauns or coins? Which one wins? Okay. I actually visually I can't even see much of a difference here, but there is basically you can see the differences here is coins falling down or leprechauns falling down. Other than that, they're identical. So this is from Playticker, one of their casino slots titles.
Okay, maybe I start. Since it's a casino or slots game, I think coins should work better since I should win coins, right? And like just visually, coins looks much sharper. I think version B, but yeah, but actually not much difference.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I agree coins because I think the kind of gamer here is after that reward. You know, that's the end game for casino type gaming is that reward if it's real or virtual, and I think coins would tick that box for them.
Okay, we've got 2 for coins. Anybody for a leprechaun?
Well, not me. I would go for version B as well. It's just as the previous guest said, so it's obviously something more symbolic. Maybe it's a bit confusing on the left side, so people may not exactly know what's falling from the sky. The problem I have with that is actually I'm not sure why even bother with tests like that. It's so similar that I would say that it probably would get similar results, maybe, I don't know, but I don't know. It's like variable, so I would go for much more difference when testing creatives, at least me. Okay. Version B, anyway.
So unanimous B coins. Anybody in the audience that would go against the panel and go for leprechauns? Nobody. So this is a unanimous scenario, right? We're all going for coins. Are we sure about this? So again, not a huge uplift. So again, what we do, so and you say you go for big changes. Actually, what we tend to do when we're doing A/B testing is we go for very subtle changes, because people, I guess, if you think about it, people get bombarded with ads all the time when they're on their phones, and I guess. What we've found is that when there are drastic, like huge differences between A and B, it's very difficult to get an understanding of what was different made the difference. What was different? What was it that was different that actually made the difference? Because with A/B testing, what we're trying to do is, essentially have two things that are relatively similar and change one component to see if it has an uplift or not. So that's what we're constantly doing variations. Now, of course, this is very, in my opinion, very random as well, right? I guess it's just the luck of the Irish with the leprechaun, but yeah, it's pretty random. But I guess what this means is that literally test everything. The most things that you would not think that could have an impact, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But until you A/B test and have sort of statistical relevance, then you don't know what the potential uplift could be. So another one for, again, this is another, we have a guide to marketing games, which obviously pretty relevant for the crowd. According to this report that was released, how much revenue was expected to be generated by games, mobile games in 2017? Is it on the low end, A, 2.2 billion in the whole of 2017? Or on the extreme end, D, 108.9 billion, or something in between? So what do you guys think? On the well, yeah, actually, just to get your opinion before I go to the audience.
As far as I remember, it's C.
C.
Yes.
I'll go for biggest, D.
D?
I'm going to go D.
D as well. Okay. Audience? What would you go for? Let's go for, anybody for A? C?
I think D is the total for the whole market.
And then D?
Half of it is mobile.
Okay. So most people went for C, it seems. Whoops, you can still hear me. And the answer is, in fact, C. So 46.1 billion. And I think there was actually a report just last week confirming the numbers for that from, I think, data from Apani. All right, I think this may be the last one. So this is from Outplay, and obviously a match 3 type game, which I think a lot of people are very familiar with, casual gaming, mystery match. So here we have, as you can see, it's got a interstitial, it's a video, comparing the two different ones. So both a video.
No interactive.
No interactivity in this one. It's just
Okay.
which one wins visually, which one is visually more appealing, and which one would get users to actually click and then install.
I think the version A is appealing, though I have big concerns about one thing. As you can see, only for some specific amount of time you can see the CTA and the button. And this is something that may be a little bit confusing for players. And version B in that matter is much more clean, and it's would probably more efficient because the install button is being visible from the very beginning of the ad. And I think it's quite crucial. It's a
So what, the call to action, essentially?
Yes, because on the left side, for some specific time, you don't know what to do, right? You just see the video. And right now, you see the button. And version B has a button from the very beginning. And I think it's important. It might be tricky. I might be wrong, but I would go for version B anyway.
I like how you're qualifying that. I might be wrong.
I might be wrong. I'm working in marketing.
So which one? You're going for B, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, again, I think personally, I like that creative in A, but I think B would probably perform better. I think it looks like more of a challenge as well to the gamer. I'd like to say A, but I think it's B would probably outperform it.
Okay, because A is the only one, because I remember Oliver mentioned that the face again. That's got 4 faces in there, or at least so it's a different scenario. But so you'd still go for B?
I'd still go for B, yeah.
Elena?
For me, I think version A will win because those match-free animation and how they make these matches and bombs. I think, like from players' perspective, is looks more attractive than just 3 matches in a row. Yeah, I would click on version A.
Okay, so we've got 2 Bs and 1 A from Elena. Show of hands, who would go for A? So this is the last one, in fact. Ooh, so overwhelmingly A. Okay, anybody for B? Okay, so I'd say that's 90-10 percentage-wise.
How much we're betting,
So
guys?
this is the last one. Let's see. The experts versus the audience. Oh, so B wins out on this one. So 99% CTI uplift. So pretty significant. So again, I think, really that was the last one. That, the whole idea behind this was really want to put some visuals up there. We're all in this space of getting people to click on our ads, install our games, and then ultimately engage and pay in our games. And of course, the visual element is critical. So that's something that we're constantly testing. So I think, for those people that got their questions right, we've got to stand up on the second floor. I think we've got some swag up there, so feel free to visit Liftoff up on the second floor and collect some swag. But I'd just like to thank very much the panelists and of course the audience for participating as well. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.